fevers are probably the #1 reason why a parent seeks a visit in a clinic with their child. So it is something that we deal with extremely often, whether over the phone or in the office. And a lot of my time is spent reassuring parents that fever is just a natural body response to a germ. And so your body's immune response to that germ is to get rid of the germ and to protect itself from the germ getting out of hand. And so I view fever as a symptom. It's a body's natural immune defense. It's not more worrisome than other symptoms like the cough, the runny nose, the congestion. All of those things are your immune system trying to function in a way that it tries to get rid of whatever germ is there. So because fever is a natural response to a germ, one of the things that fever does is that obviously when you turn up the temperature in your body, there are some physiologic changes in your body that actually make it less hospitable for germs to stay. So you turn up the temperature, germs don't like that. You turn up the temperature and the heart rate goes faster, the breathing goes faster, and it actually moves those immune cells, those germ-fighting cells, to where they need to go faster when a child is running a fever. And so that's the reason why the body runs the fever, is to help with fighting those germs. So I'm not a big fan of treating every fever, because I think that rather than treating a fever, we should really be treating a child, because if your child is uncomfortable associated with that fever, then by all means we should go ahead and go after it with Tylenol or Motrin or acetaminophen or ibuprofen. The idea that every fever needs to be broken is something that I really try to get my parents to understand, that that's not the role. We do not prevent complications by aggressively managing fever. In other words, we don't keep a kid from developing an ear infection just because you beat the fever to death with a stick. We also don't make a child better faster by addressing their fever. I sometimes wonder if we don't actually prolong some symptoms, just because when you're treating a fever, you're actually interfering with the immune system doing its job. And so the only reason that I think that we need to interfere with that is if that child is uncomfortable. So there are other means of making your child more comfortable. You can put them in lighter clothing. You can do lots and lots of liquids that helps to control temperature. You can try to cool the environment, and if you need to, then using some acetaminophen and ibuprofen to help with the fever. So the tricky thing is, and even if you read about it on the internet or whatever, is defining what a fever is. So I get that question a lot. And so in my practice, I go by 100.5 as being the start of a low-grade fever. I think a lot of times I see parents get real excited about 99 and 100, but we have to understand that 99 and 100 in a child can actually be a normal variation in their body temperature. It is not an indication of an infection or a problem. They can actually get up there just with some vigorous activity, and just because they tend to be warmer than adults. Once we get to about 100.5, then I'm going to say, yeah, I think maybe there is something going on, and maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention. Definitely at 101, I would say that is a fever. Usually when I'm looking at fevers, I try to get that information of when did the temperature actually get over 101, because that's when the information becomes valuable to me. So under 101, most kids actually feel pretty good, and I don't feel a need to treat that. Most of the time when kids get close to 102 is when they start feeling pretty lousy, and that's the point at which I'd say you probably ought to think about using a fever reducer. The question I get very frequently is, at what temperature do I need to be worried? And so the answer is going to sound really crazy, because it's based on a lot of good evidence and physiology, but the number at which a parent needs to be concerned is 107. And yeah, most people kind of give me that, whoa, really, that high? And I'd say, yeah, it's that high, but you know what? Your child's not going to get to 107 in most cases. Why? Because your body has so many different things that keep that body temperature from getting out of whack. The only time that you'll get to 107 for the most part are those football players that are outside at practice. It's 100 degrees and they're not drinking. And in that scenario, you short circuit all of your safety mechanisms in your body and it allows the temperature to get up to 107. That's what we call heat exhaustion or heat stroke. With germs, we don't get up to 107. They can get pretty good, 103, 104, 105. But if you assure that your child is hydrated and you're doing what you can with your acetaminophen and your ibuprofen, you're not going to get to 107. So basically, I'm just going to tell you to treat your child, take their temperature if you think that they're acting fussy, and look at the thermometer, and then look at your kid. And if your kid is telling you, I really don't feel good, go ahead and give them some ibuprofen and push some fluids.